episode 37 of the Buzz and Roar Show. My name is Ethan Pepper, host of the Buzz and Roar Show and founder. I'm joined alongside my co-host Lee Armfield. Lee, you are not doing so well today, I assume. Give us a little breakdown of that.
I got holes in my teeth, chat. My wisdom teeth need to come out. Make sure to brush your teeth and make sure to talk to your dentist. I'm so excited about the Knights. I'm so excited about Tim Ream. I'm so excited about the Hornets. And we're going to talk about, or I guess I should say you are going to talk about that after the sound effect, because this is the only segment I'm going to be in. But support your boy, Ethan!
Yes.
With love.
100%. That is right, Lee and Ethan. Yes, guys, I'm sorry. Lee could not be here for the whole episode because his teeth was really hurting. Yes, please brush your teeth, kids. But that's besides the point. We're here on episode 37. Let's start it off with the amazing, beautiful, talented, awesome Charlotte Hornets. I'm sorry, that was a little bit excessive there. But Lee had a question for me, actually. But of course, he's not here. Whatever. So the Charlotte Hornets. Who do the Hornets want to draft? Without saying a single name, what's the dream and what's the realistic pick? And so my answer to that is this, okay? My dream pick is Yaxel Lindenberg. Okay, I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Yaxel Lindenberg, an incredible talent. I'm going to go and shout out Hornets culture, actually, because he just made a really in-depth post about him the other day. And in short, he mentioned the fact that trading up for him 100% would be the dream scenario. And I mean, and it's also not that unrealistic. Okay, he mentioned that he has already proven to be a winner in these big-time situations. But my main question is, how much would we have to give up to trade up for him? Okay, we would have to trade up to maybe the 10th, 11th, or 12th, or maybe even higher to get him. Okay, so if it's both our first-round picks, like the 14th and 18th, I actually would not hate it because Yaxel could really amp up this team like a ton. But if it's like both of our firsts and Miles Bridges, I'm sorry, but I'm not accepting that trade. Okay, I'm not even mentioning that trade to whoever we trade that those two picks and Miles Bridges to. I mean, I'm just saying, listen, Yaxel Lindenberg, his potential is insanity, but I'm just saying, giving up Miles Bridges, I would never do that, and I still stand by that a million times over. Okay, now my realistic pick for this situation would 100,000,000% be Jaden Quaintance, okay? I mean, and the difference between my dream pick and my realistic pick is that, my realistic pick is probably what we would do if we did not trade up, because Jaden Quaintance, of course, has actually been mocked to us 1,000 times over by now. And listen to me, y'all, I still do not know how to say his name, so give me some grace, but Jaden Quaintance, okay, there is a couple questions I have for him, and my main one is this. There's been lots of doubt for this guy. Okay, there's been tons of doubt. I don't even think about lots. I'm saying tons. Okay, there's been tons upon tons of doubt for this guy. But my main question is, do we take the risk on getting him? Or do we just kind of leave it be and just kind of say, okay, we didn't need Yaxel. We're still developing ourselves. So why not take a kind of Tijon Salon type risk and go try and get a Jaden Quaintance? Now, listen, y'all. This draft is going to be really interesting for me because, this is the first draft in a long time, and I keep mentioning that, I don't exactly know at all who we could pick here because this is the first time in a while that we genuinely don't have a chance to get a, top 10 pick, and we also, could, but we don't have it from the lottery, okay? And of course, this is the first time in a long time also that genuinely Yaxel Lindenberg could be a Charlotte Hornet. But with that being said, I also am just very scared at the fact that we trade back. Because if we do trade back, who would we get? Okay, and I mean, we're so developing right now that I'm almost not scared if we trade back. Because for the record, trading back is not the worst case scenario in this, situation. But I'm just saying, Yaxel Lindenberg would just be, he would be phenomenal. But back on the topic of us having, an unpredictable draft this season, It's just how this draft is going to be, okay? Jeff Peterson, I'm sure he's got a lot of plans cooked up for this year's draft, but he's really got to be on his A game. Because if he trades for Yaxel Lindenberg, and then Yaxel Lindenberg is, the worst talent we've ever seen, and I understand that's stupid to say, but I'm just saying, like, if he, is the most injury-prone person and just doesn't have any fight to really, get that number one spot on the team, then why would we have ever even traded for him? Okay? I'm trying to get a guy this season that can genuinely make our team go from play-in to playoffs in one season. And so my main thing is that the Charlotte Hornets, they were back last season, and they are back from last season, okay? But this is the offseason. We can't start, thinking back at last season and going, oh, well, we made the play-in, like, we're going to be just fine. No, because all the other teams, they're amping up, okay? So, that's why I don't want to see Jeff Peterson trade back, because if Jeff Peterson trades back and acts like this is just kind of like, how do I say this? If he just kind of acts like this is the most, not needed pick in the world, and we just kind of trade back all the way back to, the second round, and then none of our second-round picks do anything, then what is the point of even, trying to improve this season? Because we need a good pick this season. Okay, I'm just saying we need a good pick this season. I get, we could stay back a little bit. Like, if we drop down to maybe the 20th, I would still be really mad, but I wouldn't be that mad. But listen, y'all, as Hornets fans, we can all agree. We are back, and we might be back for a long time. But listen, I don't want to see us, lay back in our chairs because we just made the play-in one time and be like, okay, go Hornets, we made the play-in, we're making the playoffs 15 years in a row. No, that's not how it works, because all these other teams in the East and all these other teams in the West are all improving with us, so we can't just lay back. So Jeff Peterson, I trust him. I know he's not going to do something dumb, but at the same time, it's a GM. He's very unpredictable. Any GM is very unpredictable, and Jeff Peterson has been great for us so far, but my main question is, what will Jeff Peterson do for us? We have no idea. That's my point here. We literally have no clue. No Hornets fan can predict it, because, when we got Brandon Miller, I get we were thinking of getting some other guys that season, but genuinely, he was not, he was still one of the names at the top of that list, okay? So anybody could be at the top of this list from bottom to the top of that draft board. I don't really care who it is. This team could really be a stinking good team next season. I just want to see improvement in this draft. This draft is going to be crucial. We had an A-plus draft last year. I'm looking for a Panthers-type draft, a Dan Morgan-type draft. And speaking of Dan Morgan, let's go ahead and move on to the Panthers, where we've got a lot to talk about. OTAs, Bryce Young being a vocal leader, Jalen Coker improving, and more. But we'll do that after the sound effect. Alright, so the Carolina Panthers, I've been looking up a lot of footage from the last couple OTAs in the practice facilities for the Panthers. I've been doing a lot of research about these practices, and I've also been talking to a couple Panthers analysts that I will not name, but they've just been really active in this OTA, all the OTAs that they've had so far, a lot of analysts that I actually normally have everyday conversations with have actually posted a lot of stuff about the Panthers OTAs and a lot of videos that I've really been paying close attention to, because I'm very curious, how Bryce Young is doing, how maybe Devin Lloyd is getting impactful in this defensive line or defense in general, or, how really Lee Hunter, he was one guy who I was paying attention to, and he actually, one guy who I talked to actually got a video of Lee Hunter. He really looked like a really physical guy in that situational awareness type spot. However, who I want to talk about today is two main key guys that I just, slightly name-dropped before I went into this segment. It was Jalen Coker and Bryce Young. Starting off with Bryce Young, the least I have heard about Bryce Young is that he has looked, and I quote, phenomenal, okay? And I mean, phenomenal. I'm just saying, I cannot even comprehend that the videos I've watched, and I understand, I can't watch live practices, but and later on in the season when training camp actually happens, there's going to be a lot more coverage for it. But for the OTAs, there's not as much live practices unless you actually attend it, and hopefully I can, get out there for one or two. But I don't live in Charlotte; it's kind of tough. But my main point is this: in practices and scrimmages, he has been, and I quote once again, phenomenal. Okay, this Bryce Young, I almost think that it's a sign from Bryce that he is really trying to, contend for another playoff spot, and most of all, trying to get extended next summer. Trying to get that big boy cash next summer that everybody does not see. Okay, and more than that, once again, trying to win the South again, trying to win the division again, trying to possibly make a run at the NFC Championship. that's out of our reach maybe, but I'm just putting it out there. This team is genuinely here. Bryce Young has been so active, it's unbelievable. Okay, Bryce Young reportedly, his first pass the other day, they were doing a scrimmage and Trayvon Moehrig broke up a pass. Then the next play, throws a dime to Jalen Coker in the back of the end zone. Okay, so I'm just saying, okay, Bryce Young, you can tell he is here. He is not trying to have a Kyler Murray career, but he is trying to have a Bryce Young career. Now, about Jalen Coker, okay, another thing I have heard tons about in those OTAs is that, Jalen Coker has also looked incredible. Of course, I just mentioned the fact that he got dropped a couple dimes in practices, but I mean, on top of that, he's built a body on him, okay? He's already one of the tallest receivers in this entire Panthers depth chart, and listen, he has seen insane improvements from last season. Okay, I mean, seeing this is indefinitely exciting. Many fans have actually called out about Jalen Coker, about how, he's having a breakout season this season. Okay? I mean, Jalen, including myself, alongside another hundreds of thousands of Panthers fans, has all been, really expressive about the fact that something big from Jalen is definitely coming up. Okay, and I mean, this team is genuinely, I think Jalen Coker, Bryce Young, I think the videos I saw from Lee Hunter, I think the videos I saw from Devin Lloyd, I think the videos I saw from Jalen Phillips, the videos and pictures I have seen from these OTAs has really proven to me that we've got some sort of drive that I've genuinely not seen since that 2015 team or that 2017 team. Whatever it is, this drive that we have this season is unstoppable, and I think that we are going to prove a lot of people wrong this season. But one other team that's actually proving a lot of people wrong on a really good win streak right now is the Charlotte Knights, and we will talk about them. Lee's favorite sound effect, in fact. We'll talk about them after the sound effect. That is right, the best sound effect on this entire list, in my opinion. Da 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 da. And then back to the buzz and roar show that everybody loves. Charlotte Knights, though, they are above 500 thanks to an absolute demolition of the Bulls that honestly still has 4 games left on this entire thing. By the way, you can watch all games on Bally Sports Live, just putting that out there, the app and the website. But besides this, my question to, everybody, you know what? I'm just gonna do a little interactive thing. Any Knights fans in the comments, I want you to genuinely, listen to me real closely. I do not think that this, this Knights team is going to make the playoffs. But however, Hagen Smith, he struck out 9 batters during his one outing, showing pitching talent, which was a crucial part of this turnaround to get back above 500, which, let me look at the record real quick. So you guys are going to have to give me a lot of grace for this Charlotte Knights team. Of course, Lee usually does a lot more of this than I do. However, the Charlotte Knights, looking at the box score here, the last game that we played, we beat the Bulls in Durham 18-7. Okay, we are currently sitting at 31-28 on a 4-game winning streak. And honest to goodness gracious, guys, we are just doing honestly awesome. Okay, while not technically out of first half contention, we have 12 games left and are at a 5-game deficit. Okay, the first half contention, meaning like the first half playoff contention. Okay, Lee's actually question to me was, and I quote, should Knights fans rally? Okay, I do think that, this Knights team is playing a pretty bad Bulls team right now, but either way, the Charlotte Knights were bad a couple weeks ago. Okay, a couple weeks ago, the Knights were bad, and now we're sitting at 31-28. Okay, last season, the Knights were like 20 games below 500, and now we're sitting at 31-28. I'd say about 1/3 of the way, halfway through the season, maybe. And so, I mean, in general, I do believe that we may not make this postseason run come, August, September, October, whatever. But I do believe, however, that this Charlotte Knights team is doing a heck of a lot better than last season, and I do not believe that they are going to hold back at all. Okay, I do believe that the White Sox are doing really good now, of course, and the Charlotte Knights are doing really good now, of course, and there's a lot of talent from the MLB all the way to the high A that we have not really talked about much on this Buzz and Roar show. Well, we try to, of course, every week, but I'm just saying there's a lot of talent from the lower leagues and even from the higher leagues that either could get sent down to the Knights or get called up to the Knights. So there's a lot of potential is all I'm getting at here. There's tons of potential, and we're already seeing 2 straight wins against a pretty bad Bulls team. But yet again, I mean, like I said a minute ago, we're on a 3-game winning streak because we had a doubleheader against Jacksonville. No, we're on a 2-game winning streak. Never mind, scratch everything I said. But my point here is this. Okay, we're back above 500. We didn't do bad in the Jacksonville series, and Jacksonville is definitely not the worst teams we have seen. We haven't been doing bad against really any series in general. It's kind of, honestly, even. Okay, I will point out, earlier on in May, we didn't even talk about this, and I don't really know why, but this is one thing that the minors has in common to college baseball. And people don't, talk about this much either, but this is also why I love watching minor league baseball more than anything else. And it's because the Charlotte Knights, and you never see this in the MLB, but the Charlotte Knights beat the Gwinnett Stripers 21-1, and the Gwinnett Stripers were 20-12 at the time, and the Knights are 15-7 right now. Just saying, that's not bad at all. Okay, I mean, from a standpoint of, Knights baseball, nothing that I just got out of my mouth is bad, especially considering that even though that was earlier on in May, the Stripers are 30-29 right now. That's above 500. So considering that we're, getting these wins, especially considering that we're getting a lot of runs, okay, like Lee actually mentioned last week, we can hit, we cannot pitch. Okay, we need pitchers. If we can get some of them high A or double A guys to get called up, or even maybe a major league, backup pitcher to get called down, we would be set for a couple weeks straight, folks. Okay, I mean, I'm telling you right now, like this minor league baseball team named the Charlotte Knights might have a chance to really amp up their play within the next coming weeks. However, one team that is in the offseason as well, the World Cup break, I guess, that is also the city that they're in is amping up a lot, considering that they have the World Cup international friendly the other night against Senegal, and of course the All-Star game for the MLS in middle of summer, Charlotte FC. We'll talk about them after the sound effect. That is right, Charlotte FC sound effect, and we're almost done with this episode, y'all. When there's not 2 people talking, it's actually way harder to get this about a 30-minute episode, but I'm sure it's probably more viewers and more entertaining to watch a 15-minute episode, 20-minute episode rather than a 30-minute episode, but that's besides the point. Just saying, sorry for the shorter episode. Anyways, Tim Ream, he did start at the Bank of America Stadium, of course, but also he is the captain for this U.S. men team, which is crazy to think about, okay? So he is the captain, and he played in that World Cup friendly, and actually, watching me actually really did play a pretty solid game. But my question is, he didn't play that good. I mean, he didn't play, he didn't score, of course. I mean, he's a defenseman. But my point is this. In the second half, it was a, largely friendly game. It's called a friendly match, and I mean, I guess, Lee wrote on here that is a largely friendly game because it really was. I mean, it was USA played like 27 guys out there just about. And so listen, it was evident that USA is definitely not the worst men's team in this World Cup this year. But also the fact that this is Charlotte FC, this is Charlotte Podcast. I don't want to talk about the World Cup. I want to talk about the fact that our fans showed up, okay? And that we're getting recognition, okay? USA in Charlotte for an international friendly about, as of recording, well, actually last week it would have been like about a month before the first World Cup game. But either way, I mean, we've got like a week and a half before the World Cup starts. So you have the MLS All-Star game in Charlotte this year, and then you have Charlotte hosting this match for the U.S. men's team against Senegal. Is Charlotte as a soccer city getting more, attention on the soccer map than we really know? And honestly, my answer to that is yes. I think Charlotte 100% is getting the credit they deserve, okay? I mean, I think I'm not definitely the only one who thinks that either, because honestly, Charlotte after the World Cup, I've seen a lot of posts, not only from Charlotte FC themselves, but from Top Bin 90, from a bunch of other Charlotte, content creators, or even outside of Charlotte, that have said that Charlotte is a soccer city. Okay, Charlotte is a soccer city. That is crazy to think. Okay, the fact that we can get called a soccer city and host the All-Star game and host a World Cup friendly. Sorry, an international friend. I get confused with that all the time. I mean, it is just crazy that we're that well-renowned right now to be considered a soccer city. Okay, there's been lots of posts about how Charlotte is that, caliber of a soccer city. And honestly, how it is underrated. I think Charlotte FC fans do not show up as much for the MLS games themselves because the MLS is not as popular right now. However, when it comes postseason time for Charlotte FC, we've already seen how loud that place gets. It sells out. Okay, Charlotte is a soccer city. And honestly, it is probably the most underrated soccer city out there, especially for the MLS, especially considering, did you see the energy at that international friendly? Yes, you did. It was crazy, okay? Now, the only thing I can say is that it is just up to us, okay? It is up to all my viewers. It is up to all the soccer fans out there to show up. Okay, if we keep showing up, they are going to keep giving us these matches in Charlotte in the bank, and it is going to be a party in the BOA for a long time coming. Okay, I mean, it is going to be a good soccer city for a long time. However, like I said, this is going to be a shorter episode because Lee his tooth hurt. Ow! My tooth hurts too, because that is going to do it for this episode. 23-minute episode, probably shorter. Gosh, I lost my voice. Thank you all so much for watching this episode, okay? Going back to the Eldon times, I didn't even mention the fact that I'm back in my old room, okay? OG viewers know, this is my old room. No green screen, no nothing. This is my old setup. Either way, though, thank you all so much for watching this episode. Hit that subscribe button down below. That is going to do it. See you guys next week for episode 38. But that is going to do it for episode 37 of the Buzz North Show. See you all next week.